Hey guys, I just filmed an interview with one of the oldest community members and third-party developers, Bram, or Mr. Black Turtle. It is a pretty long interview. We talked about three topics: Waves Association, the future of Waves, Waves Ducks, very interesting NFT game, and his own project called Turtle Network. Have fun watching and ride on Waves!
At first, I didn't care about ducks at all. Many people don't realize yet how great or how easy the Waves ecosystem is.
That the team is selling eggs?
Actually, I spent it, I guess, way over 100k at that stage. Thank you for that.
So, it's nice to have you here in the first video of my interview series. And I wanted to talk with you about three topics. And the first one is obviously Waves Ducks. Actually, we are united by this game, by this project, so it will be interesting to talk about it. So first, I know that you started Waves Ducks as a player, so initially you was a player, and how came you are now a part of core team? Could you briefly tell a story?
Well, I guess it all started because at first I didn't care about ducks at all. I was thinking, well, NFTs, who needs NFTs? So then I think Rob introduced me to ducks, and so I became interested. I started to buy them, I started to collect them, buy more eggs, but I did buy the first level 101 mantle and stuff like that. So, and then there was like a shortage of like people who could do the work. So there was more work available, and then Eno came to me and he said like, okay, Bram, can you help us with some scripts? Can you help figure us out this and that? And I said, okay, yeah, I can do that. I have some free time. And actually from there, it started to grow like this. So at first it was some scripts, then it was some like mechanics, and then in the end, it became the smart contracts. I remember when I joined, the nice items I had to implement, a turtle head edge. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it was a big deal actually to build all of these artifacts. Could you tell more about who is in the team together with you right now, and how are the roles distributed?
Well, I guess one of the main persons currently is Bram. You probably all have seen him in the chat. So he takes kind of the lead about like all the front end and back end, all the TypeScript and all that kind of stuff around it. Then you have me who does the smart contracts. Like I do all the smart contracts if there are issues, new features or stuff like that. And then we have some people like Dan, Heik, David. They're like all doing parts of the UI/new feature implementation. For example, Dan, he's fixing the bugs on Duckwars. Then you have David and Heik. They are like working on the new features. One of the things we are, for example, working on is the implementation of DIP 7.1. We are also working on card implementation so that you will be able to buy eggs with cards. So yeah, and then of course we have like the artists and the creative people, like we have Misha. He's always thinking out new things. Maybe we can also give a teaser, like, do you know the meme with the dog with the long face?
Oh, well, I'm not sure. I do know. Can you describe?
There is now like a dog with a very long face currently trending. So Misha came with the idea to create something with that dog. So you might very soon see something that he like created in regards to that meme.
Is it about the new duck? Will it be a new duck or something else?
No, it won't be a new duck. It's gonna be a cosmetic.
Okay.
And then, of course, do not forget you have all the people like Dasha and the marketing, like a lot of people basically that are all doing some part of the Waves Ducks events and ecosystem.
For those who don't know about ducks yet, if there are any people, could you describe, like in global perspective, where are you moving now? So, because I left ducks when it was a collectible game, then it became a play turn, what's next? What's the next big thing in global perspective?
Well, currently we are working on Hunt. So what is Hunt? It's like an AR game, so you can download it on your phone. We now have a native app even for Android and Apple. And the beautiful thing is, Waves also released the Waves Keeper for mobile. Mm-hmm. So now you can connect with Waves Keeper for mobile. Now we are busy with connecting that, so soon you will be able to connect with Waves Keeper for mobile to the Hunt app. So basically, what is the AR game? You walk around and you see an egg. Then you see, oh, I need to go there on the map. You walk closer, and when you're close enough, you turn on your phone, your camera, and then you're looking like, where is it? When you see it and you're close enough, you enter catch. And when you catch it, you will be receiving spice. But on special events and occasions, you will also be able to win cosmetics, jackpot ducks, Genesis ducks. For example, when the soccer event was, then you could win jerseys for your ducks. Create new, more unique ducks, because before, when you left the team, you had just the base duck and they could breed, but that was it. So you had hundreds of the same ducks. Well, now you can buy hats, blouses, pants, pads, so you can totally customize your duck all the way that you like. So there's a whole new level of design your cool duck, basically.
And the goal here is to bring more entertainment to the game, right? So regular people, not just crypto enthusiasts, can walk with their phone and search ducks, search the egg, right? So it's kind of a target to make game spread more wider. Is it correct?
Yes, I think I've been playing it a lot a while ago, and it was really fun. You combine basically the walking and being active outside and playing a game and being involved with ducks. So it's a win on 3 sides, and it's very nice. When it's summer or it's nice weather, you go outside, you take a friend or a friend-in or your girlfriend, whatever, and you go hunt together with the eggs, and yeah, during the walk you also have something to do more than just walking, and your walking gets a purpose, so you're more motivated to do a bigger distance.
I see. Yeah, we have a good weather here in Indonesia, so I think it's, catching the eggs is a good thing to do here. Yeah, it's nice to see such a plan for development, but let's talk more about the past. Despite now you're a very important person to the team, building a big part of all the developments, I know that there were some scandals when you joined the team. For example, few months after you joined, there were discussions about achievements, which many people supposed to be implemented not fairly. If I'm not mistaken, it was about Christmas ducks, when your own farm gets an advantage. Could you comment on it and explain why people complaining were not right?
Well, basically the Christmas achievement was for the ducks that were born on, I think, first Christmas Day, but it was decided outside of me. So after Christmas was over, they came to me and they said, Bram, you need to implement this. So I didn't know beforehand I had to implement it or something like that. Also, on another note, some people might think that I have Christmas ducks, but to be honest, I never had a Christmas duck. So the only farm that has Christmas ducks that you could say I'm somehow or was somehow involved with is the collective farm. But personally, I don't own and never owned a Christmas duck. But yeah, like I said, besides that, at that time I wasn't part of the core ideas of the team, so it was more like, okay, Bram, do this, or do this. Can you do this and this? So my role was a lot smaller in the team, and it came to a surprise, basically also for me. Same as all the card designs and all that kind of stuff. Many people were thinking I had that many influence back in the day, but it was mostly decided by other team members, and I just
executed the implementation. How you were reacting back that days? because I saw some of the complaints were pretty furious. So yeah, what was your reaction? Did you think to leave the team after it or not?
Well, to be honest, at the start it was like quite frustrating because of course we all want the best for Waves Ducks, and then when you are trying your best, and you probably also noticed that with Puzzle and other products, like people always complain. Even if you are totally honest, trying your best for 100%, they always complain or they always find a reason to argue with you. So at the start, it was like, it didn't feel nice, but over time you start to notice like what people are just the trolls in the community and which people are always complaining. And so yeah, you just try to block them a bit outside and just continue with the other ones that do have valuable like commands and that do want to talk with you in a normal way. So yeah, at first it sucked, but then you get used to it or you learn how to handle it.
Yeah, another complaint you probably have to behave somehow is the thing that people complain that the team is selling eggs to gain some revenue from it. It's a very difficult topic, of course, but what makes me here uncertain is that I know that previously you have invested much more in the game, because I know that you was one of the first to buy very expensive mantles. It was the level 100 or something like this. So to those people, could you explain like your own story of how much have you spent in DAX, how much did you gain from it? I'm sure people will be interested to know the numbers.
Well, actually, I spent it, I guess, way over 100k at that stage. I mean, you needed like 50 eggs or something for the level 101 mantle, and egg was like 1,500, 2,000, so you can do the math. It was like a really crazy number. Sadly, egg started to drop a bit later. So yeah, of course, I didn't like get my like the money I spent, I didn't earn it back yet. But on the other hand, if you look at it, we were at that time in a very good market, so everything was very heavy inflated. Like Waves was like $60. So if you compare it now to the current prices and you split it to 60, well, then you are at like $3,000 to $4,000 now in Waves. So it's just a matter how you look at it. I mean, it's always easy to say, I better didn't buy it, or I better sold my Waves, or I better did do that. But if we could predict all that shit, then we would all be rich and we would all be living, I don't know what kind of life. But yeah, it's just sometimes taking a gamble, sometimes getting drawn into a game. Because for me also the competitive aspect was a bit like pushing me to spend more on the mantle. So in that sense, I guess Ducks work because it made you spend money because you wanted to compete and wanted to be the best. About the selling of eggs, well, yeah, that happened in the past. For now, we have stopped that already for a few months. But the fact is, like every project needs to be sustainable at some point. So if you aren't selling eggs or you aren't selling something else, you need to find an income source, a revenue source. So one option that we are now looking at is like selling items, pets, boosters, whatever for USDT on the marketplace. Because yeah, Ducks has quite a big burn down each month. It's over 50k.
Wow.
So you do need to earn that back one way or another. So people that are upset that eggs were being sold, well, okay, I understand them, but at the same time, they were sold to keep funding the project and to keep growing the project. So it's also in the benefit of the people that were complaining. And I guess that's something that people often forget, because like nobody works for free, everybody has to pay rent, everybody has to pay food, so you need to earn money one way or another. And I don't think, well, I'm sure about it, nobody did sell like a lot of eggs to go on a holiday or something like that. So all the eggs that were sold was to fund costs, like to pay for hosting, to pay for MongoDB, and all that stuff around it. So yeah, I think it wasn't a bad thing to sell these eggs because it keeps maintaining the project, but I do get why people might be upset.
Just to conclude, for those who don't understand, previously Bram was not a part of the DAX team, so he bought eggs by himself, right? Spent it to build a farm, so it was his own money, right, Bram? It was your own waves or whatever. And yeah, now the team is looking for another source of funding to pay salaries. These are two different things, basically. So yeah, Bram, it's a very nice story actually, and I think it's a big inspiration for many people from community that you grew from the community member to a core team. It's very inspiring. Maybe the last question about the DAX. You're working for DAX like for more than a year, right, already?
Yeah, something like that, indeed.
What like the top one thing you loved about working in DAX? Maybe the best memory you have, and the moment you felt, wow, we do the thing. What was it?
Well, I think I was quite happy when we finally released all the items, because when I joined, that was like the first task, like, Bram, can you please solve this item shit? So yeah, it was a challenge because some mechanics in these items were like quite challenging or impossible. But I was like happy when we finished all the items and I could finally say, okay, we are done with that chapter, we can move on. So I guess that was one of the biggest milestones. It was also one of my first milestones, but I guess everybody was very happy when the items were implemented, including the community. So yeah, I guess that was one of the biggest.
Including myself, actually. For those who don't know, items as an idea started when I was in the team, so I kinda left it unfinished. And it was like this for almost half a year, or even more than half a year. So people bought artifacts, but never were able to use them. So thanks to Bram, the community had the chance to use them. So yeah, and it's very important to complete all the promises. And Bram is a good example here. Anyway, let's move further. DAX was a project you joined when it was already like existing and gaining some success. But there's another project that not so many people know about, that you founded and are building for almost 4 years. It's Turtle Network. And speaking simply, it's a Waves fork with its own decentralized applications on top of it, which is still pretty small and not on the hyped wave, but has a good background. First question, what made you fork Waves and start your own blockchain back that years?
Well, back in the day, I was back on school. I guess it was 2017, 2018, something like that. And like, even back then in that day, I wanted to be somehow part of the Waves team. So I was thinking like, what is the best way to learn everything about the Waves blockchain? And I was thinking, if I just build my own Waves blockchain, basically, like on a small scale as a side project, then you learn the most, how everything is working, how the code base is working, and all that kind of stuff. So I actually did do that, not as a goal like Turtle Network is some long-living project or something like that. I just built it because I wanted to learn and be prepared to be one day part of the Waves team. And basically from there, people started to pick it up. And you know how blockchain works. Once you release it in the wild and people are running nodes, you can't turn it off. So basically from there it all started. Like I was just curious to learn about Waves blockchain, Waves protocol, to dive deeper into it. And yeah, so it started to grow. And since then, I actually have always kept it maintained. I update the node code base regularly with pulling the upstream fork in and stuff like that. And yeah, it's one of the projects node that I have.
Yes, so it might be surprising, but still, Turtle Network is the only fully operational fork of Waves. The only one who we can call mainnet, actually. How could you explain it, that you are the only one who launched a fork and no one else doing it?
Well, I guess there was another project that did launch an early fork, but they diverged the code base a lot, like LTO. I'm not sure if you heard about them.
I didn't.
But they are like a Dutch company, but they are now moving to a Cosmos chain. So they are leaving the Waves fork behind. But I guess many people don't realize yet how great or how easy the Waves ecosystem is. So most people and most projects, what do? They look at Ethereum and they try to be Ethereum compatible. But I guess, yeah, they don't look a lot further, because if they would look further, it would also be very easy for people to create new blockchains based on the Waves ecosystem. So I guess it's just people don't know yet how great Waves Stack is.
I actually agree. Many people are afraid of write language and difficult smart contracts, but in reality, it's simple once you learn how to do it, and very, very efficient, I would say. I know, actually, I discovered last week that you even have some kind of swap-fi fork on a Turtle network called Transitum, if I'm not wrong. Could you tell more about diversity of apps currently existing on the Turtle network? Maybe some of them have tokens. For people who hear for the first time about Turtle network.
Well, basically Transitum, I would say, if you would compare it with something on Waves, I would compare it more with a puzzle than with Shopify, for example. Because it does include NFT minting, it does have an NFT marketplace. We don't issue token bonus API like Swap does issue bonus swap tokens for API. Well, on Puzzle you have just the raw pools, to say it like that. You have also the NFT marketplace. So if you would ask me, I would say it's more something inspired by Puzzle, so by you, than by Swapify. What we also did was we implemented actually an NFT swap, an NFT gateway between Waves and TN. So every NFT minted on Waves could be sent to TN and inverted. So every NFT on TN could also be sent to Waves. So it's like a bidirectional swap. And how does it work? Like, it mints an NFT on the TN chain if it comes from Waves, and then it stores it in the gateway for future uses. So you have basically a copy on the other side for this NFT. It also doesn't really use some complex middleware. It basically is based on Oracle data and smart contract calls. It's not very decentralized yet, but it's a very great first version. Because, yeah, oracles you can just expand and then with fold loop through the multiple oracles and stuff like that. So what does Transitum have then? You have this marketplace, you have the NFT swapping bridge, and then you have, of course, the pools. These pools, we're just getting started with them. Also, you have the Transitum token. What does it do? You basically can swap your TN to TNM, Transitum token. And this TN will be locked forever. And will be staked on a node and generate revenue for the Transitum token holders, plus all the fees from the marketplace, NFT minting, and all the pools goes to the TNM token. That's a bit in short Transitum. In the future we will keep expanding it, of course, but yeah, you know how it goes. When you start a project, you always have a huge backlog from here till Tokyo. And of course, my main focus is still the Waves ecosystem and Waves Duck. So this is what I do on the side on my Sundays or Saturdays, like that. Then we have also, for example, Polarity. They are like an exchange. They use the matcher code base also. So you could say they are some kind, a bit the same like Waves Exchange. They have integrated quite some gateways into Turtle Network. So you have USDT, Ethereum, you have two kinds of BTC, one kind gateway by Turtle Network, by us, one BTC by Polarity. You have also like more niche ones like Curve. So you have like a whole bunch of assets on Polarity that you basically don't have on Waves Network yet. Also, what is great between Turtle Network and Waves, you have like a gateway for Waves and for TN available. So you can freely send your Waves in both directions and send your TN in both directions. Actually, that gives very good arbitrage chances. Like you can go to Puzzle, look how much TN you're getting for your Waves, and do the same on TNM. So then we have Polarity. And then we also have like Fate Swap. They are like some kind of EMM, so they do have pools, but all the pools are like against USDT pair. So they have an asset against USDT pair. So you also can do swaps there. I've seen there are already arbitrage bots running on TN, and they are making a nice profit by going between Polarity, Fate Swap, TNM.
How much value locked? Oh, sorry for interrupting. How much total value locked are there currently in this pools?
I guess we are around a few million of TN that is locked currently, if we would count it in total value. But yeah, like the TNM pools, they are like starting to get released just last week, so it's very, very fresh. For example, we have a TN USDT pool, a TN Waves pool. If we now go look in the TN Waves pool, we see there is like 500,000 TN locked and almost 2,000 Waves. I mean, so that's not bad liquidity, I guess.
So it's also around $10,000, right, in one pool?
Yeah, something like that, indeed. Yeah. What also could be done is like what I've been doing. We all know there are some hiccups with the gateways on the Waves Exchange sometimes. So, for example, if you want to buy some assets, you can just send Waves to TN and then use the Polarity gateways or like trade on Polarity to get BTC or whatever. So it also will help to have the Waves ecosystem users to have an alternative route to trade and to bring money in. Also, some feature we are working on, I'm quite excited for that feature, is basically an Oracle-based asset swap between TN and Waves. And I believe that could be quite great because that will allow, for example, to bring USDN, WIX, or whatever they are going to call it, to TN and build applications that also to extend the locking effect of it. So we could basically help by locking more tokens, more assets. And you know also how it works. We need to basically remove some floating supply from the market. The more supply is removed, the better.
Absolutely.
So that's something we are going to aim for, what we are building for. And with these decentralized swap gateways, I think people will also have a trust that it will work between the two chains. What I'm also planning is to update the verifier function. Basically, you will only be allowed to update the gateway smart contract if all the oracles agree to it, or if, like, for example, 60% of the oracles agree to it. So, like I said, I'm still in the building phase. It's now in the testnet, but the finished project should be like with at least 10 to 20 oracles. And they have like, I mean, to release the funds or to update the gateway, you would need like 80% of the oracles to agree with it, and like to add or remove an oracle, again, you need to have like 80% of the oracles agree to it. And in that sense, we are sure that nobody can just send out the money or like print more tokens without added value. Besides that, it's all fully visible on chain. And yeah, I guess that could be quite great. And it still allows for the flexibility to like bug fix something or stuff like that if the oracles allow it. So I guess that could be a great middle way. And I guess it could also be quite interesting to see a write Oracle-based swap work between two chains, I mean, yeah, I guess that could be quite great. It could show how powerful White is, basically.
Yeah, so, and it partially can fix the liquidity problem on the gateways and Waves, right? Because users will have an alternative what to do with their assets.
Yes, so basically they will be able to use the assets on Tien also to trade, to buy. Like I said, no, they can already send and retrieve Waves and Tien. So the chains are already connected. But yeah, when more assets will be allowed through this Oracle-based change, through these Oracle-based gateways, well, then of course they will have like a whole new opportunity, a whole new market. And also the user base of Tien will get to know these tokens. Like I said, we will be able to build code or build applications on Tien that will be locking Waves, that will be locking USDN or the new USDN, whatever it is called. So the idea is basically to help the Waves ecosystem, because yeah, I've heavily invested in the Waves ecosystem, so we have all the benefits of like making it survive and helping it survive. And I do believe this might also help the users and the ecosystem.
I agree, yeah, but don't you think that for the Turtle network to truly shine, you need to have more developers in it? So not only like you and your core team build something, maybe to attract new developers who build lending protocol, liquid staking and other things.
Well, I do agree it would be great to attract external developers, or maybe developers that want to deploy their application like dual chain, for example, like you with Puzzle, you know how to build a lending protocol. Maybe you say, okay, that's right, I know how right works, I deployed it already on the Waves, why am I not going to deploy it on Tien? So I do think there is like a very beneficial cooperation between the two chains. And like, let's face it, Tien needs Waves to survive anyway for a lot of things. So I do think that in the future it could be something like some kind of side chain, you know what I mean? So like the two projects like are very connected with each other. For example, like you see with Ethereum projects that are building, they often also deploy on other chains. You have a lot of projects that deploy on Ethereum, on Polygon, and all these other things. That could also be happening. And of course, with this new features that I'm releasing, like with the liquidity pools and stuff like that, a whole new opportunity starts to appear for like developers to make it more interesting. For example, with now the Transitum pool, arbitrage becomes really profitable. I've written a small script for it, and like, okay, you can say it's not a lot of money, but I think on like one day tonight, it earned like 30 USDT just for running the script and coding it once. So I do think it really does bring new opportunities for developers. Also with the gateway, for example, Puzzle could be sent over to Tien and all that kind of stuff. So for all the projects, it might become interesting to look like, how can I benefit from Tien? How can I like push my product by involving the Tien community? Because they are often, some are like common community members, but there are also like separate projects and separate community members. You have some kind of gateways to Tien, for example, for DVPN. For Ether0, like these are all separate communities that have some vested interest in Tien, but not so much in Waves. So if you could then bring them also to have a vested interest in Waves projects, again, that's a win. Or if you could build projects on Tien that will be locking like Waves assets and make these communities use it, then it's also a win, because indirectly you are still expanding your community and you're locking more tokens to new people.
To sum it up, is it correct to say that Turtle network to Waves is something similar what Polygon is to Ethereum? Is it correct to compare like this?
Well, I guess you could say it like in a light version to this indeed. They share the same right version, they work less or more in the same similar fashions, and they are connected with each other, so yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, and in the future, maybe if Waves gets heavily loaded, for example, many people come and network is overloaded, some people can move to Turtle network, right? To use it faster and more efficiently.
Yes, indeed. So some people could indeed move to Turtle network, or like I said, to just like discover new communities. For example, with Polarity, that is building on the end, they developed their own gateway. So that's like another way to enter or access the ecosystem, and like to bring people together, to bring communities together, and to grow together.
Yeah. Okay. And as for now, is Turtle network somehow supported by Waves core team, or maybe by a Waves founder, Sasha, or it's totally independent and funded by your own?
I'm funding it fully by myself, so there is like no funding coming from Waves core team or from Sasha or whatever. But yeah, in the past, when there were like technical questions or you have discussions about the nodes or issues with the nodes, then of course you can ask the developers about it, because they're always willing to help you to get to know the tech. But like all the coding, all the building, that is funded by me, and that is done by me and my team. So yeah.
Oh, and what's your plan to get this money back? What's your revenue strategy?
Well, currently, like I said, I'm focusing now also on the arbitrage aspect. These gateways, they will be charging a fee, for example. I guess the gateways will charge a very small percentage fee, and this percentage fee will be split between all the oracles. So of course I could be one of the oracles. I will probably be one of the oracles. So like there are like alternatives, methods to earn from it. Or for example, providing LP tokens like on TN, the more people use it. Like it's like no direct income strategy, but I guess there is an indirect economic benefit to it.
Okay, nice to hear that we have independent projects in Waves who do not only rely on Waves core team or Sasha. So you're a great example. Again, let's have a short break. We have a chance for our watchers to earn some money as well. How you say it? Indirect income strategy. Here I have a question, and you guys have to do three things. Follow me and Bram on Twitter. Retweet my tweet where I post the video you're now watching, and you have to retweet and answer this question. So these three things, and we will have results in 7 days after I publish this video. And the question is, as we see, Bram is a very qualified developer, and he built a lot of things already, but much more is in the future. So you have to propose the best idea what Bram should build next. It can be, I think it's reversed, right? Mirrored, or
no? It's correct.
It's correct. Okay. It can be anything actually. It can be somehow related to DAX, for example, the new idea for DAX, or it can be an idea for decentralized application on top of Turtle network, or it can be even not about blockchain. The most accurate idea, maybe the most brilliant one, will get the price of $200 in puzzles. And also we will pick a random winner who will get another $200. So we'll have two winners, $200 each. Follow us, retweet my tweet with this video, and answer this question. Okay. Yes, I guess it will be very interesting to read ideas of people, and we also will know what people think about your skills, like what the best place.
I'm really curious what they are going to propose.
Yeah, let's pick a winner together. Actually, you can help to.
Okay, that sounds as a plan.
Yeah. Okay, and we got to the final part probably of this interview and the last topic, and it is Waves Association. Waves Association. It's a pretty old thing. I think Waves Association appeared 3 years ago or something in Frankfurt. Bram, you were one of the first members of Waves Association, and you ended up as a manager of Waves Association. Could you describe about your role, what you were doing previously, and maybe a short introduction of what's happening in the association now? A really short one.
Okay, so yeah, it started like you said 3 years ago. There was this opening in Frankfurt, a bunch of people were invited. I guess I have still one of these pictures somewhere laying around even. And then the association was started. So it was basically an idea to like decentralize Waves and the decisions on Waves, like decentralize the funding mechanics and all that kind around. Now, by the time we are progressing more and more, like that was like decentralizing it in some kind of legal way, but of course that wasn't enough. So now we are more looking to like Power DAO to integrate that into the Waves ecosystem and the Waves Association structure. So, for example, everybody knows funding in grants, I guess, and that will, for example, be using to approve milestones, to approve grants, and all that kind of stuff. We could be using Power DAO or some connected DAO with it, like a Shell DAO or something like that. So for now, the association is a bit quiet, because we're all waiting eagerly for the big DAO release on the Waves ecosystem. But after that, normally it should be picking up again. So before we had like monthly meetings, monthly meetings for funding and grants and all that kind of stuff. But they are now also like on hold for a bit till we basically know more how it is going to look in the future, how everything is going to change and stuff like that.
What's your connection with Waves Labs and Waves Camp structure? Because these two structures look like they have the same role, distribute grants. What is the comparison here?
I guess they were like separately started, so I guess they are separate initiatives. They indeed had the same role. So they had like some overlapping parts, but I guess that will also be solved with the DAO, because I guess it will all be merged in the DAO. No, it was like not very efficient. Like you have 3 teams of people doing the same of work. Basically, you had projects applying in all the same place, like the same project in multiple places and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. I guess in the future it will be merged more as one, and will all be with the DAO.
So you expect all of the structures, you say 3, it's Waves Association, Waves Labs, and...
You had before another grant giving, I'm not sure anymore how it's called, but you had something before also.
Okay, so you expect all of this to be united in one DAO, right? Wisdom of the crowd concept. Okay, sounds exciting actually, but it's fair to ask a question here. Since the Association grants program was announced, there were only few projects who received this grant. I expected to be approximately 5 or maximum 10 projects who received the grants. Why there are not so many teams who receive funding? Is it a problem of not many teams are applying, or teams are judged very hard?
Well, I think it's more a problem of teams all want quick and fast money, but don't want to do the preparation work. For example, we have a template that teams have to fill in with the necessary steps, the budgeting, all that kind of stuff. But I can say like 95% doesn't even read that template. They either don't fill it in, they ignore the template, they fill it in badly, and like we need to request more information. And by the time we request more information, they often like disappear, I guess, because they didn't plan it as a serious project and they just wanted to have money or something like that. But it's very hard to find projects that are willing to properly fill in all the needed templates and all the needed data. Then you have also some people that are just like applying project or idea after idea, and like never have a decent plan, but they just like deny, okay, there's the next idea, deny, next idea. And then you have the people who are obviously requesting like crazy amounts of money for like little things to do. there was a guy who had a centralized website. So you send money to his website. His website did some gambling, and then you did get your money back double, or you didn't get it back. But it didn't use a dub or anything at all, and he asked it like $100K or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have these projects that makes no sense. They think maybe these people who apply really think it makes sense, but if you're like deep technologically looking, it makes no sense to, for example, fund a centralized betting website when you can build it up.
And for how much were these guys applying? For how much grant?
Well, there were projects that asked like 100K, but some even went up to like the 1 million or something in like USD value. Because the maximum you could apply for was 100K waves, and some people were like really requesting 100K waves. I guess this project with the centralized gambling, he requested something like 100K for it.
And how much do you think Waves Association or Waves Labs, whatever, is ready to distribute in reality, in current conditions? For example, if I have a project, can I expect to be funded by at least 20,000 or something? Is it like possible?
Well, I have no idea about Waves Labs, to be honest, since I'm not that involved in it. But if you talk about the Waves Association, currently the process is put on hold because we are waiting for the proper DAO structure. Because like, yeah, it made no sense to us to like rush some votings and then end up with half projects or something like that, that then need to swap over to the DAO or stuff. So for the association, currently it's put on hold till we get more clarity about the DAO.
Okay, thanks for sharing this, because I think many teams are still hoping to get some funding from Waves Association. But yes, so the answer to anyone who wants funding is to go to Waves Labs, right? Not to Waves Association.
Well, I'm not sure how it is with Waves Labs, but yes, at the moment Waves Association isn't processing the applications. We will most likely start again once the DAO is sorted out. Okay.
Yeah, probably the last question about this grant distribution thing, and probably it's pretty uncomfortable. There are a few teams. I can provide 2 examples of who built a product actually, but never received a support, not even a financial support, but probably reputational or retweet, at least retweet. These teams are Waves Roulette and WXBooster. It was kind of convex for WXBooster. Have you heard about these 2 projects?
Waves Roulette, yes. I'm not sure anymore why we ended up not funding it. I guess because Waves Roulette was already an existing project, and at that stage, so we asked them like, what are you going to change? Because the first version of Waves Roulette basically went bankrupt. So we asked like some questions, and they didn't get through the checking. With WXBooster, well, there were also questions, there were concerns, technical concerns about the smart contracts, about who was able to like access the smart contracts. I think some comments from intern were like, if they want support, they need to have like decent multisig on the smart contracts. And some of these requirements weren't received very well by the project, and yeah, they were like the reasons why it didn't process. Also, I believe it was some project that wanted to do with LNSBT staking, something, for example. That project didn't get funded because basically at that time when he asked for the funding, they announced the big updates from Neutrino. So what did the association say? Like, okay, it's nice that you have this project, it sounds interesting, but they are totally going to change Neutrino. So we first have to look if your project is still viable after they change Neutrino. And I guess now with the current changes, it wouldn't have been viable anymore either way. So yeah, I guess those projects were for technical reasons that some of the members weren't satisfied. As you know, all the votings in the association would go with all the members that wanted to join the voting. So it was not a one-man decision. It was basically, if more of the people voted against it, then it was against.
How many people are there in the working group right now?
It depends a bit. So sometimes there were like up to 10 in the funding and grant voting. Then you also have the board voting, and then you also have the general meeting voting. Oh. So in the general meeting, there could be more people, but it really depends because none of the meetings were mandatory. So we basically were counting on the best effort from the members to join and vote.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how this system updates when the PowerDAO is released, because we will have more participants, more decision makers. It will be interesting to watch. What do you personally think about policy of a protocol here? Should these third-party projects be at least retweeted and somehow supported, maybe on the website, official website, or it's not the case? How do you think?
Well, that's a tricky question, because when you as a blockchain or as a company promote certain projects, then you might also run in the risk of promoting a scam. For example, some guy comes, he says, I'm going to build a very, very great lending platform. You say, okay, that sounds great, we will fund it. You give him some start money, like let's say 50K, and then you also promote him on the website. Then you promote him on the website, everybody starts to use the lending protocol, and then he, I don't know, codes a backdoor in the smart contracts or something like that, and he runs off without the money. Then you basically did promote a scam, although you didn't knew it was a scam, it could put you like at risk. Because like even unintentional, you did promote a scam, and people might see it also as an official project. So it might become quite like complicated for the end user to know like what is an official project, which is for sure no scam, and all that kind of stuff. And you know, we are in blockchain world, a lot of people don't have good intentions with the projects they are building, sadly.
So yeah, you think that's a responsibility of Waves in this case to decide to promote this project or not? Yeah.
Yes, I guess, and even if they decide to promote, they should be very careful because yeah, it's just a very complex world. So I guess projects should also be able to promote themselves somehow to a big degree, I think.
Well, yeah, I'm asking it because when WXBooster was trying to promote itself, it was kind of banned from official groups. You know, their messages were removed, and it was met very angrily by the community. Okay, but your like opinion makes sense here, and I actually kind of agree with it. Okay, let's go to the final part of this interview. Bram, we are now meeting the new Waves, and it's the motto coming from official social network, the new Waves. So what's the new Waves for you? How you see the new generation of applications on top of Waves? What will be the new movement and the new spirit?
Well, I guess in the new spirit, everything will be built around being more secure for the investors. Like, we know we had these problems, we had Alameda issues and stuff like that, where Sasha is always talking about. So if we went like to the Dubai conference and you've seen that Sasha really wants to aim to make everything more secure for the investors so they can feel safe again, like less tricky things. So I definitely think that the new Waves will be more secure, even better place to invest and to be part of. And I think it will be quite exciting to see what the future will be bringing.
How do you personally plan to put your own impact in it? Will it be mostly Waves DAX or mostly Turtle Network, or maybe something new?
Well, For now, it will be mainly Waves Dux. Like I said, that's where I work on in the week. Turtle Network is what I work on more on the free time. But yeah, I guess if the new opportunities arise or new teams comes, I'm always happy to support teams in whatever possible way, or to advise them, or to help look at some smart contract code, because so yeah, I'm always eager to help new emerging teams, new emerging persons to grow, to give them information, to get them started and all that kind of stuff.
Amazing. So guys, if you're building something or you have an idea what to build on Waves, you can contact Bram. He will help you as much as he can, I think. Follow Bram. Okay, Bram, thank you for an interview, for such a long interview. I actually expected it to be half an hour, but it shows that we have a lot of things to talk about, and it's perfect. Thank you for taking a part. Maybe some last words from you. What do you wish people in these hard times? Yeah, what will be your final message?
Well, I guess people should not become discouraged by the current problems, and I guess everybody should take a step back and look at the future, and I believe that the future will be truly great. So yeah, just hold on a bit more, and then hopefully we can all enjoy our new profits, the new products, and the new future of Waves.
Amazing. Let's go to the new Waves. Thank you, Bram.